Hey, Diet Disruptors, Carrie here, and I love being able to sit and chat with you every week to dig a little bit deeper into what's going on with our bodies, why the stuff that we've been doing for so long hasn't been working, and what we need to be doing instead. And today I want to talk about something called your set point. Now, you may or may not have ever heard this word before. You've probably heard of the word metabolism, and it's very much around the same kind of a thing. So if you are with me live today, because every Monday at 11:30 Eastern time, we do our podcast live on video in our YouTube channel. We stream live into our free Facebook group, Diet Disruptor Squad, and live on our Facebook page, which is Disruptive Nutrition. So if you are watching me live, I want you to put in the comments set point. This is a really important concept that I think so many of us don't realize and get frustrated with when we can't seem to lose the weight or make as much progress as we want to. And understanding more about your set point is really important in this process. So we're going to dig into that today because this whole concept of not dieting, it really goes along with what we mean when something is working or not working. When we think about our litmus test of whether or not you should do any sort of nutritional approach, it's always based on three things, right? 3 in the comments if you're with me live. The 3 things that it's based on is 1, is this based in science, designed for your body to thrive? Now, that last part is really important because I get people telling me all the time, I hear about fasting, keto, counting calories, putting myself at a deficit, you name it. It's all science-based because what our bodies do as a result of just putting ourselves at a deficit, not eating carbs, putting our bodies in ketosis, fasting, it's all scientific because it happens to all of our bodies and we can measure it. But is what you're doing designed for your body to thrive? So many times I'll hear, well, I did Weight Watchers, I did Noom, I did Jenny Craig, I did name, insert diet here. And you say it worked for a while, but then I fell off and it wasn't sustainable. And I get it that a lot of us think, okay, because I said it wasn't sustainable, that's why it didn't work. Well, that's part of it. But was it designed for your body to thrive? I'm going to show you today how it absolutely is not designed for your body to thrive. And why would you do something with a short-term result if you get these long-term consequences that are going to actually hurt you versus help you thrive? It's like if you've ever lost weight before and then you are scared that you are going to gain it back, that is not a thriving body. When your body is thriving and healthy and strong, it can handle you going off plan. It can handle you doing, whatever. And you're not going to just gain 5 pounds, 10 pounds. You're not going to throw your sugar cravings off completely. You're not going to go on this big binge. When that happens, I can guarantee you your body is not thriving. That fear of food means you have not been fueling it correctly. And it's like the Wizard of Oz, right? It's like when you actually get to the guy behind the curtain, you realize there was nothing magical there. You could lose weight, but in all reality, it's a facade. It's not health. And you got to decide what your why is. If you decide, I just want to lose weight to be able to fit into a wedding dress or a bathing suit, and I don't even want to think about what goes on later or what I'm doing in my body, well, A, you're not ready to work with us yet, but B, you're probably only like in your 20s. Because your set point is probably pretty low where you could lose weight pretty quickly by putting your body at a deficit. the higher your set point goes, just want you to think about that. Like if it's up here, if it's up by my head up here, and you're only going to be able to lose a certain amount of weight by a deficit, and then bam, you're going to hit a wall. That is what your set point is. And so every single time we put ourselves at a deficit, we have to slow down our metabolism, which means we raise our set point. So now the bar is higher, and that, like, maybe let's call it 10 pounds of difference is never going to go away because you've hit that wall. You actually have to lower your set point instead of just going on another diet or taking in less food. Taking in less food is not designed for your body to thrive. And if your body's not thriving, your set point will never lower. In fact, it will continue to climb. I had somebody recently tell me that they dieted their way to diabetes in 280 pounds. And that's exactly what will happen. Her set point kept going up and up and up. She kept depriving herself, but then would binge. And the foods that she was fueling it with was throwing her body completely off when it came to her blood sugar stabilization. So now you're dealing with diabetes, which then leads you almost directly into dementia, heart disease, high cholesterol, continued obesity, and eventual death at an earlier age. And it also caused her to gain more weight, even though she was depriving herself of food. Why is that? Well, because when your set point is higher, your body is going to not be able to metabolize food as quickly. It's going to throw your blood sugar all off. And as a result, your body is going to hold on to food. Now, there are two reasons why we end up storing fat. Our set point is a really big piece of it. And depending on where our set point is, we can release weight kind of quickly, the lower it is, and we can release weight slower, the higher it is. But every time we spike our blood sugar, every single time, and that can be whether we're eating healthy or not so healthy. We can spike our blood sugar just by eating an apple. So when we spike our blood sugar, I want you to think about your house, okay? I'm in the process of putting my house on the market and buying another house. And I think about like cleaning out closets and all that kind of stuff, right? And I think, oh my gosh, like the closet stuff is hard. Well, I want you to think when you're buying new clothes, for example, you put them in a closet and then you're filled, that closet's filled. So then you go fill another closet. You found these really cute outfits and you want more of them. So you go fill another closet, but your closets are kind of small. So now you don't have a ton of clothes, but they're filled with your closet. So you're like, I need some more clothes. You go get more clothes. Maybe you really didn't need them, but you bought them anyway. Where do you put them? They got to go like in the house. You got to just have like racks and put them out on display because there's not enough room in the closets. Well, every time we spike our blood sugar, which is when we have usually too many carbs or we overeat. Now, we all know we love carbs. Carbs fuel our brain, but that spike is called glycation. And every time we glycate, our body actually wants those carbs. It can store that energy in our muscles and our liver. That's right where it should be. But just like if you keep buying clothes, you don't have enough closet space. If you keep spiking your blood sugar and you don't have enough space in those two areas to store it, it's got to store it in the hallways. It's got to store it in the kitchen. It's got to store it in the living room. And that storage container are fat cells. So every time you glycate, you're going to store fat. And if you have a high set point, which means a slow metabolism, you're not going to be burning it off. And when we really understand that, we get to see a pattern of that number one question: is this based in science designed for your body to thrive? If your body is holding on and storing fat, you're not thriving. Weight gain is a symptom of health and hormones. It's not just so simple to say, I can just stop eating and then I'm going to just lose weight. It may have worked when you were in your 20s. And that is because your set point was lower. Our metabolisms and our set points are naturally faster as we get older. That's why kids run around. They can kind of eat garbagey sometimes. Their bodies are more efficient at balancing their blood sugar on their own. And With every single diet we do and put ourselves at a deficit, our body has to slow down to be able to respond to the lower intake of fuel. Think about when your gas is almost out in your car. I was actually driving home not so long ago, and I am less infamous in my family for like not wanting to get gas. So I got off my exit ramp at my house, and it's a downhill kind of a slide, and there's a gas station at the bottom of the hill. I literally was so close to running out of gas that the car just literally, it wouldn't go anymore. I rolled into the gas station empty. I couldn't do anything. I was slow, and I was like, oh, please make it. The gas didn't really work anymore. Okay. That's what's happening when we constantly put ourselves at a deficit. Our body doesn't have fuel. So in order to compensate for it, it doesn't just shut down. It doesn't just be like, okay, we're not working anymore. It slows down your ability to metabolize food, which impacts everything else in your body. And think about it when you're running on no gas. If you don't have energy, if you have sugar cravings, and you feel like you could have eaten the same stuff that you were eating on a diet before and losing weight, and suddenly no longer you're plateauing or gaining weight, that is because you're running your gas tank on fumes, and it has to slow down to conserve. And every time you do that, you kind of damage your body a little bit more. Your set point rises. So now if you gain 30 pounds, you might only be able to lose 20 pounds because your set point is higher. Once you hit that set point, you're hitting that wall. And then you're not going to be able to lose the weight in the same way you used to. So I want you to think about how many decades you have been doing the dieting thing. It's not just that you slow down your metabolism. It's that you raise your set point, which is, like I said, this wall. And so in your 20s, maybe you dieted, you were thinking about food. And it's like, how many of you were like, oh, in my 20s, I was dieting, and if I could have had that weight now, I'd be so happy. Well, you were miserable then. You were thinking about food then. You were dieting then. So it really isn't about the number on the scale. It's about who you are, your own self-worth, and doing things because you love yourself, not because you hate yourself, because you hate your body. You've been doing that for decades. It's not working. And it's nothing worse than putting your body at a deficit where you're deprived and miserable, only to then like binge or just fall off because it wasn't sustainable. So in that first piece, is it based in science, designed for your body to thrive? Your dieting that you're doing is just simply not designed for your body to thrive. And you know that because every time you do a new diet, it doesn't quote unquote work as well. Well, that's where you got to really define what working means. So that's why that first part of the litmus test is so important. Is it designed in science so your body thrives? It is not working if your body is not thriving as a result of what you're doing. That short-term weight loss, it doesn't take long before, really be honest, how long are you able to keep that quote unquote weight off while still living a life where you can have cake and quesadillas and wine? It's not going to. The minute you have wine, cake, or quesadillas, you gain all the weight back. That is an indication that your body is not thriving. So you're not talking about, oh, it's so far down the road. You're talking about now. I remember when I went to college and my mom said, you got college loans, you won't have to pay them off for a long time. It was like down the road. So I didn't even think about them. Well, that was further down the road than the dieting thing is. And so you can't just go with, I'm going to lose weight and this time it's really going to work. I'm going to go on a diet and this time it's really going to work. It never will. It's not designed that way. It just isn't. And sure enough, my student loans came due down the road, which happened faster than I realized. It will always fail you. So let's go to the second question that we always talk about. And it's, would you let your kids do this? Would you let your kids do what you're doing? If the answer is no, then why the heck are you doing it? And when we think about how every diet we go on, we start off at a new set point, then it's not going to give you those results of weight loss that you think it will. And if you wouldn't let your kids do it, understand if you're doing it, you're teaching your kids. Peter and I went to a parenting retreat years ago. And I learned something there that I will never, ever forget. It was so powerful and so important. I learned that from when kids are like 0 to 2, your job as a parent is to keep your kids safe. Keep them safe. That's basically it, right? From 2 to 12, you are their teacher. I want you to just hear that. You are their teacher. You can think that what you're doing isn't impacting your kids, but I want you to think back to your mom and what she did, and at what age you recalled she was on a diet. She was thinking about and talking about her weight. So you may think that you're hiding it from them, but if you don't know another way, if you're doing this yourself, there's no way you can teach them what they need to be doing. That's it. The window is 2 to 12. That's when you're their teacher. How can you teach them not to be in the same position you're in if you do not know how to live the lifestyle free of dieting, free of obsession from the scale, and living food freedom, living with a confidence that what you are doing is right? You'll never teach that to them. From 12 to 16, you are then their model. Now, if you've ever had teenagers before, I have 2 teenagers. Actually, I have 3 because we have our exchange student that lives with us as well. So I have 3 teenagers. And when I think about 12 to 16, and you are their model, you have a glass of wine every night, they watch you. They don't want to talk to you, but they are watching you. You have a glass of wine every night, they're watching you have a glass of wine every night. You don't eat the same meal as the rest of the family, they're watching you. You're sitting on the scale, they're watching you. And if you're working out and talking about being healthy, understand if your mind is like healthy means I have to lose weight, or if food is healthy and unhealthy, it's binary. That means it's good or bad, and it has power over us. You're modeling for them with what you do. Then from 17 to about 21, you're their coach, right? You're not necessarily teaching them anymore. They've learned all these things. Now you're coaching them through the game of life. And then from 21 and older, you are their mentor. If you are not living a lifestyle of food freedom, of understanding that your value is not in the scale, but in your purpose in this life, if you don't understand your own triggers and your stressors and the things that allow you to derail, then how in the world, regardless of what age your kids are, except from 0 to 2, when you're just trying to keep them safe, how are you going to teach them? How are you going to model for them? How are you going to coach them? And how are you going to mentor them? Now, you may be just starting a journey with us and saying, oh my gosh, my kids are 22. That's okay. You're their mentor. You get yourself on that road. We talk about what's in our control and what's not in our control. The past is not in our control, but the future is. Today, and what we do from today on is. So that number 2 question of, would you let your kids do it? Is on surface like, well, I wouldn't do it. Why would I let my kids do it? We're all based in the same physiological kind of a body. Yeah. In fact, you're worse off than they are because you've been dieting so much. You will be impacted even more by your diet and putting yourself at a deficit and trying to reduce calories or cut carbs or any of those things than they will. That's not the real thing. If you don't speak the language, if you don't live a lifestyle that is truly around a balanced life that is confident and filled with success with 1% progress a day, where our confidence does not come because we've met a goal when it comes to our body shape or size, but when confidence comes because we know what we're doing is right for our body. We're divorced from the results, and we show up every day because we love ourselves, not because we hate ourselves. If you don't speak that language, your children will never be able to either. And then the third one is, can you do this for the rest of your life? That's the one that so many of you, when you do the diet thing, you say, I couldn't do it forever. I get it. You couldn't do it forever because your body wouldn't let you. It wasn't just the fact that you didn't like it. When you keep putting yourself at a deficit and showing your body that we're going to do things that don't allow you to thrive, well, then your body is going to give you signals like if you have cravings, a lack of energy, sleep is an issue, hormonal imbalances, weight gain. All of those are telling you you're not thriving and what you're doing, we cannot do forever. That's huge. First of all, your body wants you to be consistent. It's like any relationship. The relationship between you and your body thrives on consistency. Remember, is it designed in science so your body will thrive? Your body wants you to be consistent. Now, your exercise, you should change up because you got so many different muscles. You don't want to just use the same muscles over and over again. You want to confuse that. You don't want to confuse the nutritional aspect of your body. It relies on blood sugar stabilization. Stabilization means consistency. Consistency means you got to be making sure that you are keeping your blood sugar at a level that says to your body, oh, look, you don't need to go release the insulin on your own. I got you. Your body's whole goal is to have its blood sugar stabilized. It will do it in one of two ways. It will do it on its own, but it's much less effective. And as your set point goes higher, the harder and harder it is for your body to be able to balance its blood sugar on its own. It's when you become insulin resistant and then pre-diabetic and then diabetic. It's when your blood sugar is out of whack that we glycate, we age faster, and we start to release free radicals in our bodies that are little lightning bolts that zap our cells. And those cell zappings are what are contributors to metabolic disease, like the foundation for metabolic disease, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, stroke, cancer, all of those things. So when you're really thinking about how all of this is playing out for you, recognize that if you don't have this consistent approach to balancing your blood sugar, the weight gain is like the least of or the not being able to lose weight, that's like the least of your problems. It's all these other things that are going to kill you. Weight loss is a byproduct. You need to focus on healthy. You don't need a flat stomach to be healthy. You got to decide what you want. Now, the longer and longer you live this lifestyle, the lower and lower your set point becomes, which is so amazing. Is it based in science designed for your body to thrive? When we say thrive, you want to do things that are not going to raise the red flag of warning called your set point. You want to be doing things that are going to lower it because it will be a brick wall that you'll never be able to pass. How do you lower your set point? Well, you've got to be eating in what we call PFC every 3, right? A protein, fat, and carb every 3 to 4 hours, starting from an hour of waking up. That is going to keep your blood sugar stabilized, and you have to move your body. Now, I'm not saying you have to start both of those at the same time, but you will never lower your set point if you aren't spinning your 6 plates. Nutrition, exercise, strength training, and movement is key. And we can always be adjusting that to be able to lower our set point. Hydration, managing your stress. Chronic stress will continue to release cortisol in your body. What does your body have to do when that happens? It has to release all these other hormones, including insulin, to be able to try to balance that cortisol spike. That's wreaking havoc on your body. And supplementation. We have to be thinking about not just supplements like vitamins and minerals to make sure that we're getting the nutrients that we need, but also things like sauna, sweating. Those kinds of things are supplementation as well. When your body is in this place of balance, your set point starts to come down. So when you are thinking about the fact that you just can't lose that blank, blank, blank pounds, understand it's because you've hit a set point. Your set point is where it is for 2 reasons. One is genetics. People talk about this all the time. Genetics. Yeah. You're either an ectomorph, a mesomorph, or an endomorph. You're one of those 3 things. An ectomorph, if you've ever met anybody that can just seem like they eat and eat and eat and eat, they just don't gain weight. It's incredible, right? Well, they have a very, very low set point. Now, it doesn't mean they can't spike their blood sugar all day long. I know a lot of skinny, unhealthy people. It doesn't mean they can't get diabetes. It just means they're processing food very quickly, which is why metabolism is only part of the equation. And if you have a slower metabolism and you can still be healthy, okay? But you can be an ectomorph. You can be a mesomorph, which is sort of that medium type. Many of us are somewhere on that continuum, but I'm like between it, like I'm really a mesomorph, but over time, I really feel like I've gone more on the ectomorph, so I'm kind of in between now. But we have that medium set point, and if we're not really intentional, if we do more of the kind of appreciation meals, as I call them, or off plan, or you're spiking your blood sugar more than you're not, then you will gain weight easily. And if you're starting off here, every time you diet, you're raising your set point more and more and more. And then there's the endomorph, and your set point is naturally higher, just genetically. And so that makes it so your metabolism is slower. It is harder. If you're like one of those people that says like, I look at food and I gain weight, you might be a mesomorph. Now, it doesn't mean you can't change your set point. You can, but you will make it worse by dieting. What you need to be doing when you're eating PFC and you're moving your body consistently over time, that is when you can start to lower your set point. And so the second part that goes into our set point is our past, is our history. How long? Be honest with yourself. How many decades have you been dieting? How long have you been depriving your body and putting your body at that deficit that's raising your set point more? So if you're genetically already starting as an endomorph and you've been dieting for so long, just like I told you about that woman that said she dieted her way to 280 pounds, it's because every time she dieted, she raised her set point up more and more, but she was already starting at a very high set point. So the amount of work that she's going to have to do to be able to bring that down is going to be more than maybe a mesomorph whose set point has been higher, but it's not quite as high. They're starting at a different level when they start to pile on the dieting nonsense. And so just like when we eat really unhealthy, people that are just really, really unhealthy their whole life, it's really interesting because I have had people that never really dieted, but didn't really take care of themselves. And they were able to move a little bit faster in lowering their set point than those that dieted a lot. And again, there's no guilt. There's no controlling what you did in the past, but you can control what you do in the future. And so from this day forward, how you are treating your body and how you are showing up for your body, what you are doing for your body is all going to be a determination of whether or not you're going to be able to bring down that set point. The dieting will only raise it. And as the more and more you raise your set point, the slower and slower your metabolism gets. And the more and more difficult and honestly impossible it will be to release weight. You've got to do something different. I would say if you want something different, you got to do something different. So your genetics are your genetics. But you have to decide what you want, why you want it. If you already have a high set point, but you want to be the healthiest version of yourself, then there's a lot of the basic things that we can be doing. And you can get to healthy. And if you want to get to fit, you're going to have to work even harder. And you got to decide if it's worth it, why you want that. But you got to figure out your why and then realize getting to that healthy place where your set point is lowered, where you're not at risk for all those metabolic diseases, that's your number one goal right now. And y'all, that is easier than you realize. And when I talk about 1% progress a day, we have a shirt in our shop that says 1% better every day. Go get the shirt if you need to, put it on and get yourself moving. I hope that this shows you and helps you to see exactly why what we do is so important. I am urgent for you to be able to learn this, not just for yourself, but so that for your kids, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a model, whether you are a coach or a mentor, this matters for them. But you have to put on your own oxygen mask on first. We have that t-shirt in there too. You got to put your own oxygen mask on first, or you'll never be able to put on theirs. You have to learn this first, or you're never going to be able to teach it to them, show them, or mentor them. So that's why at Disruptive Nutrition, we do things differently here. You'll never see our programs on our website. We don't just click and buy. We want you to talk to us, have a conversation with us, and we will help you to figure out a path so you can learn this. in a way that's comfortable for you, in a way that you feel like is sustainable, and in a way that you feel like you can really, truly trust the process. So in order to do that, you got to get yourself on a phone call. I know it might feel scary to get on a phone call. I'm talking about 15 minutes right now. Just it. Meet one of our coaches who were all clients. Their stories are your stories. They're just telling a different one now because they got past their own mindset and thinking, oh, I'm just going to be sold something. And they said, maybe they really mean it. Maybe they are here to help. Get on a call and let's talk through how you want to go from there. Got it? Put a phone call in the comments if you're like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to do a phone call. That's what I'm going to do. Because no longer am I going to keep raising my set point. Because the longer and longer I do that, the more and more at risk my body becomes, the more weight I'm going to gain, and the harder and harder it will be to get healthy. When you get to your optimal health, you'll get to your optimal weight, but you'll never do it in the way that you've been doing it. You got to do something different. All right, guys. Thanks.